You're
watching Wolverine TV.
Hey Bronx Science. In light of everything that's going on in the world right now, I just wanted to take a moment to say that I'm hopeful. In the past 2 weeks, tensions heightened and nothing other than the constant push for justice was important. While some students were less educated on the topic than others, I both witnessed and experienced students coming together to correct each other's mistakes and let each other in on new information that was vital to know. We reminded our peers that simply following a trend on Instagram with the hashtag Black Lives Matter was not enough. In fact, it was to an extent infuriating because it barely counted for anything at all. Instead, our resort to educating each other, talking about what's going on, and making moves to protest was moving. If you are actively pushing, you are rebuilding America to redefine the notions of equality, so that one day the color of our skin will not be the defining factor of our lives. We all have so much work to do, but I'm hopeful because we're on the move. And I know us, and we will continue to push and rebuild until we get to where we need to be. With that, I want to introduce Mr. Comet and Miss Parker, who will be singing a version of Hell You Talkin' 'Bout by Janelle Monáe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, go. Hell you talkin' 'bout, 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 hell you talkin' 'bout. Eric Garner.
Say his name.
Eric Garner.
Say his name.
Eric Garner.
Say his name.
Eric Garner.
Won't you say his name?
Breonna Taylor.
Say your name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say your name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say your name.
Breonna Taylor.
Won't you say your name?
Tamir Rice.
Say his name.
Tamir Rice.
Say his name.
Tamir Rice.
Say his name.
Tamir Rice.
Won't you say his name?
Ahmaud Arbery.
Say his name.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Say his name.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Say his name.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Won't you say his name?
Say his name.
Say his name. Say his name. Won't you say his name?
Hell you talkin' 'bout, 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 hell you talkin' 'bout.
Emmett Till.
Say his name.
Emmett Till.
Say his name.
Emmett Till.
Say his name.
Emmett Till.
Won't you say his name?
Amadou Diallo.
Say his name.
Amadou Diallo.
Say his name.
Amadou Diallo.
Say his name.
Amadou Diallo.
Won't you say his name?
Ayanna Jones.
Say your name.
Ayanna Jones.
Say your name.
Ayanna Jones.
Say your name.
Ayanna Jones.
Won't you say your name?
Sandra Bland.
Say your name.
Sandra Bland.
Say your name.
Sandra Bland.
Say your name.
Sandra Bland.
Won't you say your name?
Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Won't you say your name?
Hell you talkin' 'bout, 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 hell you talkin' 'bout. Tony McDade.
Say his name.
Tony McDade.
Say his name.
Tony McDade.
Say his name.
Tony McDade.
Won't you say his name?
Natasha McKenna.
Say your name.
Natasha McKenna.
Say your name.
Natasha McKenna.
Say your name.
Natasha McKenna.
Won't you say your name?
David McAtee.
Say his name.
David McAtee.
Say his name.
David McAtee.
Say his name.
David McAtee.
Won't you say his name?
Michael Brown.
Say his name.
Michael Brown.
Say his name.
Michael Brown.
Say his name.
Michael Brown.
Won't you say his name?
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Won't you say his name?
Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Hell you talkin' 'bout, 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 hell you talkin' 'bout. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Mr. Comet and Miss Parker. Next up, we have Andrew Eastwick, who will be reciting an excerpt from an essay he wrote about the movement.
Hi, my name is Andrew Eastwick. I am a junior in Bronx Science, and today I am going to read you an excerpt from an essay that I wrote because I felt like it, called My Thoughts on Racism. When I was 12 years old, a black teenager tried to steal my phone. It was in October of 2015, and I had just gotten a new iPhone 6 less than a week earlier. My friends and I all got on the M15 bus from school to head home, and a couple of stops in, a group of people I had never seen on the bus before and never would again got on. It was a group of black teenagers, probably 17 or 18 years old, blasting music and making jokes. My friends and I paid very little notice, though they sat near us, because the most they interacted with us was when one of them stared at me a couple of times. The stop before mine, they all got off, but as they did, the one who had been looking at me grabbed my new phone from my hands and tried to run off. Being 12 years old and far too possessive of my brand new iPhone, I ran off after him. He kept asking for the password, and I kept denying him. He started threatening to deck me, and I kept denying him and politely asking for my phone back. After continually pestering him down the block, he punched me squarely across the face, landing right on my temple, but I was so pumped up on adrenaline I didn't feel it until after I got home. Eventually, he decided it wasn't worth it, as a massive crowd had gathered at the bus station to watch, and even his friends told him to give it back, so he threw it on the ground, completely shattering it, and ran away. In the moment, I wasn't scared, and for years I thought of it as nothing more than a story to tell. But now, I've started to notice that subconsciously, it has affected me. When I'm walking alone, and a group of black teenagers and young adults passes by, my heart speeds up for just a moment. I move away slightly. My pace quickens a little. I didn't even realize I did it until I forced myself to address it pretty recently. Even now, I actively try to remind myself that they won't hurt me, that getting mugged was a one-time thing, that they're just normal people like me walking down the street. But there is always still that ounce of fear, for just a moment, that what if they aren't? What if they do want to steal my phone? And once they pass, I'm racked with guilt. It's against my better judgment, and I know for a fact that it's wrong, but it still happens. And it really does kill me because it is so wrong. The fact that that still exists in me proves that I have more work to do. And for any of you that experience that same sensation, you have work to do too. If when you look at a black person on the street, your mind jumps to a conclusion that is different than if you looked at a white person, you have work to do. Because it is that feeling, that little inkling of suspicion or fear, due to literally nothing other than the color of someone's skin, that allows all of this. Because we aren't seeing black people as equals. We're seeing them as something else. That is why this movement is so crucial. We each have to hold ourselves and each other accountable for our thoughts and our actions, because if we ever want equality, those thoughts and actions have to go away. Their existence enables the manifestation of racism on every other level. And the more we stay silent, the longer the government and those in power are going to be able to actively oppress black people. While rooting out our own passive bias, we must destroy the active bias in this country. And the way to do that is to talk. Speak out against racism. Talk to black people. Dispel any fears or assumptions you might have by spending time with people. Listen to them. Stand with them. They have had to deal with all of this since literally 1619. They have a right to be angry. They have a right to protest. It's on us to join them in that anger, to join them in protest, because only then can we make change. Our voices hold immense power. This can't just be black people fighting racism. This has to be all people fighting racism. That is where we matter. We have to support them. We have to stand with them because their lives matter. And for far too long in our society, their lives haven't. It's very uncomfortable to admit you have a privilege or subconscious bias. I refused to believe it initially, which is why I've only come to terms with it recently. But we all have to. Start this discussion. Have that conversation with yourself. Share resources for people to learn about racism. Hold yourself accountable. That is what we all must do, and that is why our voice matters. Because here, it truly can make a change. We should all feel incredibly guilty that it took this long, this many lives lost, this much destruction and pain to realize that we have to do this. But now that we have, it's on us to make a change. You can find my essay in an email from the school. I don't know when you're going to see this, but I'm assuming right around the same time. Thank you so much. All of you, stay safe, stay healthy, and Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to everyone who went out of their way to make sure that their voice was heard. If you missed it, be sure to watch last week's episode to watch Miss Coombs and Justine perform their works on the movement. Keep fighting and stay passionate, Bronxians. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Thanks for watching.